With the many reports and rumors and reasons to think that a whole bunch of remasters are coming to Nintendo Switch in the not so distant future, it begs the question how these remasters could be changed. Throughout the Switch era, we've seen a whole bunch of remasters that have had new content added to them. Bowser's Fury in 3D World Deluxe, Future Connect in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, the side stories in Pikmin 3, Battle Mode in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Even with the recent Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe that's supposed to come out this month, we've seen this box art leak that could be showing an epilogue story for this game as well. So it seems like the trend of new content being added to remasters is sticking even now this year. So with more remasters rumored for this year, as we've discussed in previous videos, what kind of enhanced new content could we be seeing? Well, that's what we're talking about today.
Hey, listen!
Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart, and today we're talking about enhanced or new content we could be seeing in a few remasters that may be coming in the not so distant future. So I actually have 5 in mind, 3 of which are rumored, and 2 of which are just speculation that I think kind of makes sense. So let's just get right into things. The first one that I'm speculating is Thousand Year Door. It's a fan favorite, arguably the best Paper Mario game in the series, and we may be waiting a little bit while before the next Paper Mario game, even though they have 4-year gaps and this may suggest 2024, and also considering that when Origami King came out, it was during the whole pandemic time. As rumored, Nintendo may want to dip into their wonderful GameCube library and remaster Thousand Year Door to hold over Paper Mario fans. Now, something they could add, well, maybe they could just simply add a little bit of a side story that would be tangential to the main campaign, and it could fit nicely into the overall world. But the point is, I feel like Thousand Year Door would be a great game to have new content added to it that would definitely excite a whole bunch of fans. Going beyond that though, let's now talk about one that I think is really likely that is rumored from several different places, and that's F-Zero GX, and supposedly it's coming this year. Now, for F-Zero GX, it was an amazing game, one of my favorite games ever, but it is incredibly challenging. Now, they should not take away the challenge, keep all the challenge, but perhaps make it easier to unlock some of the secret stuff, like the AX tracks. So the game actually has a total of 26 tracks, and the first 4 cups have 5 each, bringing us to a total of 20. However, there was an arcade version that came out alongside F-Zero GX, which was F-Zero AX, and if you had a memory card, you could go to the arcade and put your GameCube memory card in there to get the AX content. But if you didn't have that, you have to go through grueling, arduous, difficult stuff to get to the AX content. It's pretty much impossible for most people, I'm gonna say. So it'd be nice to add these 6 AX cups earlier on, either just have them available or make them just a lot easier to unlock. Now, while I do want that to be done, I also think they should add actual new content as well. So give us a whole other new cup, 5 more tracks to give us a total of 31 tracks in F-Zero GX. Now, going beyond that and obviously improving the visuals, they also should make sure there's online play. I'm not expecting 30 playable racers, but maybe like 20 or 16, at least something to give us some semblance of the chaotic energy and frantic speed that we get when we're doing 30 racers in the traditional Grand Prix mode. Now, another remaster that's rumored, and actually even being teased by Sakurai maybe, because he's saying they should port Kid Icarus Uprising, is, well, yes, Kid Icarus Uprising. And this is one of the remasters that I don't necessarily think needs to have new content added. If they were to simply improve the visuals, make the controls work on a modern controller, that alone would improve the game significantly, because the main issue of Kid Icarus Uprising was the controls. Otherwise, I think it might be the best game on 3DS. So if you do that, I'd be happy with it, especially if the online play was totally functional and it worked. I think the game has tons of content. It would not need anything else. But the way the game does end, I don't want to spoil anything, but they could add an epilogue chapter that would be related to how the last chapter ends. I'm not saying it would have to be anything serious or dramatic, but maybe with the last chapter and how it ends, there could be a character that could fly alongside Pit and give his own narrative or commentary as you explore the events that transpire after the end of the game. This would be something fun that they could add that would totally fit with the world and everything. But again, not needed, but it would definitely be appreciated. Now here's another remaster that I think could happen, but is entirely speculative. I don't know if it's actually going to go down. There's no rumors suggesting so. That's Luigi's Mansion. Now you might say, well, they already remastered it for 3DS. Yes, but they also ported over Xenoblade Chronicles, and yet we still got Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which is a greatly enhanced version of Xenoblade Chronicles, and it had new content added in Future Connected. I still think they could do so, considering how successful Luigi's Mansion 3 was, and also considering that Luigi's Mansion 4 may still be a bit of a ways off, and they may want to have a Luigi's Mansion game to take advantage of the popularity of Luigi with his involvement in the Mario movie. Maybe a Luigi's Mansion remaster for Switch wouldn't be such a bad idea. Now, in terms of new content, I'm not saying they should expand upon the campaign itself. I think the campaign is meant to be somewhat short and highly replayable, but maybe what they could do is add another mode that would give more value. Something similar to what we saw in Luigi's Mansion 3 with like this tower that you can kind of go through and have increasing levels of difficulty fighting ghosts. They could do something like that, and they could also make a co-op, which would add more value to this game and definitely excite people into buying a Luigi's Mansion remaster. But now for my final remaster that is also rumored that I think could be coming out this year. Metroid Prime HD. This game, some people want it to be the entire trilogy. Supposedly 2 and 3 are coming later down the road, so I'm just expecting Metroid Prime. But the story of Metroid Prime here, this remaster, is kind of interesting, because apparently Retro Studios is working on this new engine, and they had a build running with Metroid Prime. They showed Nintendo, and then they greenlit it to be a full-on remaster, but then also told them to do Metroid Prime 4. So the idea here is that they were so impressed by that prototype or proof of concept that they decided it needed to be its own game, and they were given Metroid Prime 4. So I'm looking forward to this remaster, and I think it is going to be impressive. It's going to be a substantial visual upgrade, and there's going to be some quality of life changes like the controls. I think there's going to be dual analog controls to fit the modern era, probably with some gyro motion aiming added as optional. That would also be there. But in terms of straight up new content, while I wouldn't necessarily expect it, especially with Metroid Prime 4 potentially not being too far off, I do think there are some things they could do that would make a lot of sense. Now, in Samus Returns, a Metroid 2 remake or remaster, they added a melee attack. They could add a melee attack in Metroid Prime. We saw a melee attack transition over to Metroid Dread. Maybe this new melee attack for Metroid Prime could transition over to Metroid Prime 4. A common criticism of Metroid Prime is that Samus felt too tanky and slow when Samus should be more agile. Adding a melee attack could definitely go a long ways towards speeding up that gameplay. Now, if they add a melee attack, they would probably also need to remix the combat a little bit. So firstly, they should probably have normal and hard difficulties available right from the get-go, but maybe also have a third difficulty that you can unlock, maybe hyper difficulty or something else that has its own little spin on it. But beyond just difficulty, maybe some of the boss fights could be changed around. So what's interesting, the Parasite Queen was actually intended for a more open area, where it's me running around the walls attacking you. What if they were to bring this idea back, and they took advantage of the melee attack? Samus could use it to repel her when she comes quite close. And this kind of idea could also translate to the other boss fights as well. The melee attack will offer some sort of advantage with these different remixed boss fights. And on the note of boss fights, Magmoor Cavern is the one area in Metroid Prime that is missing a boss fight, and there are a few cut bosses from the original Metroid Prime development. What if they were to add one of those in, be it Kraid or the Sabergoth, one or the other, put them into Magmoor Caverns, change them up, make them fit the environment and theme, and perhaps there is a melee attack related upgrade involved with that boss fight that would be entirely optional, that you could skip, but would add a little bit more content to Metroid Prime, but nothing so significant or substantial that it would be ridiculous to think that maybe Prime 4 could come maybe a year and a half later down the road. But those are all my thoughts on some of the remasters that we may see in the not so distant future and the kind of enhanced content we may see from them. But what do you guys think? What sorts of remasters do you think are on the horizon, and how could they be changed? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways everyone, this is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.